Greetings, administrators. After our winter session regarding evaluation of special education and related service personnel, the Student Services Department reconvened representatives from the related service personnel groups to begin the process of reviewing evaluation rubrics and determining a course of action for their revision. With the approval of the Evaluation Study Committee and Para-Joint Committee, representative groups enlisted the support of the Danielson Group to deepen their understanding of the purpose and structure of the evaluation rubric and process, and then engage in revision of their rubrics based on the rigorous expectations of their specific roles. This presentation will take you through the process of their work and help you partner with them regarding professional discussions and learning, as well as utilization of the rubric as a basis for identifying strengths and areas of professional development. This presentation will help you first understand the process used for developing the Danielson-based framework for specialists, assist specialists with application of their Danielson-based rubric to the PDRA, or Plan Delivery of Services, Reflect and Apply process, and then determine next steps in encouraging the use of the Danielson-based framework for both evaluation and professional growth. First, understanding the process for developing the Danielson-based framework rubrics for specialists. We took careful steps in reviewing Charlotte Danielson's thought process behind the rubric, the story of instruction, and how the domains work together. Pam Rosa, our Danielson Group representative, gave us a step-by-step process and strawman rubric examples developed by other specialists in our role, or similar roles, from Illinois and beyond to develop our own customized rubric. Our rubrics are aligned to the teaching framework components, but are customized to honor and support our evaluation and professional learning process. The first step was to organize the framework through the 4 domains so that there would be alignment between design and delivery, domains 1 and 3, a supportive environment for students and stakeholders to thrive, which is domain 2, and deep individual and collaborative professional learning supports, domain 4, that would help our stakeholders be successful. We looked at the gradients of performance next so that we could identify the adult actions that would define each level. We started with proficient because this is where Charlotte Danielson started when she designed the initial and updated frameworks for teaching. Level 3 defines what great specialists directly do to make sure learning happens. After we defined proficient, we then went to excellent, level 4, which is really proficient plus. Level 4 defines the way that we release, extend, and support individually and collectively our learners as they try out the tasks and seek to deeply gain skills and knowledge. In Domain 4, Level 4 is about specialists providing customized support to parents and families, leadership for our colleagues, and being a reflective practitioner. It is what we see when students begin to internalize with gradual release of support. This is mirrored in the teacher rubric when we see student-owned learning. Level 2 was originally basic, but Charlotte did not mean for this level to equal bad. Basic is exactly that. This level is written at a level that says performance is inconsistent, or that there is a limited set of knowledge or skills. This level is often where a new specialist comes into the profession or district, or where a veteran specialist might be struggling due to lack of experience, expertise, or even sometimes commitment. There should be purposeful collegial support provided when we see practice at this level. Finally, level 1, or unsatisfactory, is a level of cease and desist. This level's language is written at below licensing standard and should include very customized support or interventions so that harm is not done to learners or the profession. To summarize, level 3 and 4 are linked and the target areas for performance. Evidence of performance otherwise is a mayday call for collaborative support. Finally, this was a great aha moment for all that participated in the learning about the framework. We must remember that the rubric was not written about a person, but rather as definition of practice. For example, there may be new content or skill sets And as a result, learning starts over even for the most experienced staff member. At times, our practice may move to the needs improvement area, but the goal is not to live there. Support is needed to move to proficiency with, for example, coaching or professional development. After we looked at the components and the levels of proficiency in each component, we went to step 3 and developed critical attributes. These are some of the look fors and listen fors at each level, but are not necessarily an exhaustive list. This was a lot of hard but very important work. It caused some very deep conversation about the expectations of specialists and was universally perceived as very worthwhile reflection and discussion. Step 4 was a very practical step. After we had developed the rubric narrative and critical attributes at all 4 levels for all components, we wanted to have a quick guide to support observations and conversations. The guiding questions are there to support individual and collaborative reflection by specialists and to support conversation in the evaluation planning and reflection conversations. Possible evidence was included as appropriate and as time permitted. A framework on a page was developed that includes the 4 domain components title and the aligned questions on one side, and the shifts of level of performance on the other side for each of the 4 domains. During the rollout to specialists after this work was completed, the specialists spent a great deal of time here, which was at the actual exploration of the rubric with their colleagues. They pointed out, and we will hear too, that Danielson in her 2000 book, written with Tom McGrail, established these 2 purposes for teacher evaluation. We often don't do either very well, but traditionally, schools don't include professional learning as a big priority in the evaluation system. The specialists felt that this was something that they definitely wanted to change. They felt strongly about working with administrators in partnership to create a culture where professional learning was a centerpiece of the evaluation process. More communication between evaluator and specialist is needed about their work and reflection on what can be done to improve it. To punctuate that point, the specialist shared this from Danielson. Although the framework for specialist practice may be used to evaluate educators' performance, its principal contribution to the profession lies in its use in promoting professional learning. It's not the framework itself, of course, that achieves this effect, but the manner in which it is used. Like any tool, it may be misused and applied in a top-down, punitive manner, resulting in a shutting down of specialist inclinations to engage learning. Thus, in using the framework for specialist practice, it's important to recognize those factors that contribute to the desired outcome of promoting professional learning. The first, and in some respects the most important contributor to professional learning, is a culture of inquiry. And this is something that we have embraced in our district as a mindset for continuous improvement. As we go into the rubrics and resources, we want to think through a systematic approach to key aspects of the specialist work and areas that are strengths and opportunities for continued growth and improvement. The plan is focused on specialists being really clear in their design to maximize the delivery of services for students and stakeholders. There are 5 to 6 components in this domain. Domain 1, planning and preparation, is what a specialist knows and does in preparation for delivery of specialized services. If we haven't mentioned this before, you'll see a great alignment here between the specialist rubric and the teacher's rubrics. In fact, 1B for specialists, which is stakeholders, is 1B for teachers in terms of the knowledge of students. They mirror each other component to component. So back to the Domain 1 planning and preparation piece. Based on a targeted population, what the specialist holds dear here are 1B, knowledge of stakeholders, 1C and 1A, the knowledge of the important learning goals aligned to essential content. 1F, success criteria and ways to measure ongoing learning progress. 1E and 1D, designing activities and materials and use the very best resources to help learners be successful. Delivery of services is focused on the specialist work in 4 focus areas that directly support students and/or stakeholders: culture, management, engagement, and assessment. There are 9 to 10 components in these 2 domains. So in Domain 2, all aspects of professional practice that lead to a culture of high expectations for students and/or stakeholder growth. It is important to remember that the heart of learner's commitment comes before the head of a learner's commitment. Culture components focus on growth mindset, and management components focus on student stakeholder self-management of learning and/or efficiency of delivery of services. Moving to Domain 3, the engagement components, or the delivery of service, what a specialist does when implementing the protocols and best practices of their specialized work. Engagement components are focused on the direct learning activities and services that they provide. Are the learners intellectually committed and working hard, or are they just going through the motions of what do you want me to do? Assessment and feedback is focused on the specialist and the student stakeholders, knowing how well they are doing based on success criteria and formative check-in connects versus asking, is this right? Reflection has 2 really critical parts of professional learning and growth. 1, being a reflective practitioner that uses student and stakeholder data to think, who is achieving the goals, who is not, and how do I respond to both? The reflection must be made on data. Then, 2, continuing to support and grow with families, colleagues, individually, and also being an advocate for students, professional practice, and the district. This domain and components are what really separate the good from the great practice. So Domain 4 responsibilities, there's a lot of work to do here that directly impacts Domain 1, 2, and 3 with professional responsibilities, professional behavior, and growth as an individual and a collaborative team member. Apply is what makes professional dendrites grow. We take here what we've learned from plan, delivery of service, and reflection in order to celebrate and also concentrate on next steps. The specialist representatives invited their colleagues to look through the rubrics based on what we have just discussed and use the professional self-assessment foursquare to take stock of their own practice. They were asked to start developing their own celebrations, what they were really great at, and how they knew. They were asked to use the rubric's critical attributes and guiding questions to self-assess and choose 1 or 2 areas of concentration. These could be individual components or clusters of components like culture, specialist, clarity, etc. And then identify some next steps and who or what could help. Finally, learning purpose 3 for the specialist was moving the professional learning process forward as a group. They discussed the difference between formal collaborative conversations and informal collaborative conversations. This was linked to our current evaluation plan. Thank you for your time today. We hope you are as excited as we are about the rubrics and the work that we have accomplished and the work that we will accomplish together. If you have any questions, please contact me, Judy Nash, in the Human Resources Department. Have a fantastic year.